What is up, YouTube? This is Nanashi with yet another deck profile. This time I'll be showcasing my brand new gold deck. I decided it was time to temporarily or possibly permanently retire trap monsters and replace it with another archetype that I've been playing for a very long time. It is actually time that I brought back spirits, and it's mainly just because of the fact that I, well, heard there was new support coming out for spirits soon, and I was so excited I just wanted to make a new build. So let's see where this goes. Starting right off, we have the main monster lineup in the Spirit deck, starting with 3 Maharagi. In all honesty, this card's not that great. All the spirits, of course, share the same effects, which is that they can't be special summoned, barring certain exceptions, and during the end phase of the turn they were normal summoned or flip face up, they go back to the hand, provided they weren't sent to the graveyard first. Now, they each also have unique effects. This one's unique effect is that during your next draw phase, before your next draw phase, after this card was summoned or flip face up, you get to look at the top card of your deck and choose to put it on the top or bottom right before you draw. So it's not bad, it's just not really good enough to warrant its use other than just a random tech card I threw in because the deck kinda needed another level 4. It has its use though. 3 Rosetsu, or Rosettes, depending on how you pronounce it. Level 4 Fire, whereas Maharagi was a level 4 Earth. Now, its effect, unique, is that when it's summoned or flip face up, you can reveal a spirit from your hand, except another one of him, target a face-up attack position monster your opponent controls, and return it to the hand. But you can't special summon the turn you use this effect. So more often than not, you're not going to be using its effect, you're just going to be using it as another level 4. Izanami, or Imanatsu if you read her name backwards. Her unique effect is that if when she's normal summoned or flip face up, you can discard a card to add a spirit from your grave to your hand. This card has amazing synergy with a lot of the deck, and mainly I use these two as dump fodder for her effect, or banishing fodder for other effects. 2 Yaksha. Not a lot of people play traps right now, but this card does have its use. When it's summoned or flip face up, you can target a spell trap your opponent controls and return it to the hand. 3 Aratama. Now this one is amazing. When it's normal summoned or flip face up, you can add a spirit from your deck to your hand except another copy of itself. Nikitama. Perfect counterpart to Aratama. When it's summoned or flip face up, you get an additional normal summon this turn. But you can only use this effect once per turn, and it does recognize the effect, not just the name, so no duping. Also, if it's sent to the graveyard, or rather when it's sent to the graveyard, you draw a card, if you control a spirit monster on the field, of course. This card has amazing synergy with a lot of discard effects, and especially Foolish Burial style effects. And 3 Yamato no Kami. The strongest attack point monster by far in the deck, but not by much. It can only be special summoned, and you have to banish a spirit out of the graveyard to do it. So, this deck obviously dumps a lot. But at the end of the turn, it returns to the hand just like the others. And if it destroys something in battle, you can also destroy a spell trap your opponent controls. With 2200 attack, you're not going to be blowing up a lot. I mainly use it for Xyz fodder, but, you know, it's useful. It has its moments. That's what's important, right? Next, we move into the spell cards, starting with Triple Creature Swap. People remember this card above all else from my Spirit deck. Especially a certain somebody who was unfortunate enough to run Malefics against a deck that mains 3 Creature Swap. Just Creature Swap. Then you got the Triple Double Summons, which gives you an extra normal summon, which this deck kinda needs. Then you got the Foolish Burial, which mainly just drops Nikitama if I already control his spirits, so I can get an extra draw. Double Rank Up Magic Astral Force. There's 2 monsters that are in this deck, or at least going to be in this deck, that I use this with. Double Twin Twisters. In the event that I ever do see people playing back row, this card helps. Xyz Change Tactics, though, is a boss in this deck, and it's mostly because, well, the extra deck is nothing but Utopia and Utopic Xyz monsters. So I get a lot of draw out of this deck. In fact, thanks to the constant recycling of Nikitama and the use of Xyz Change Tactics, I draw so much, it's a wonder I have any deck left by my 3rd turn. Bottomless, Triple Legacy of Yatagarasu. This card gives me a lot of bonus if I use Creature Swamp on one of my stuff, but in the event that my opponent tries to blow it up, I do get an extra draw, which could come in handy. You draw one card, or you can draw 2 cards if your opponent controls a spirit monster. There's a spirit monster coming out soon that actually makes your opponent's monsters into spirits, so this card may actually have much more play later on. But for now, it's good for what it is. And, of course, double memory loss, poor man's breakthrough skill, face-up attack position, monster opponent controls, uses an effect, negate it, and if you do, change it to defense. And next we get to the side deck. Not really much to see here. A copy of Tsukuyomi just to fill in the blank spot because I don't have an extra copy of Vanities in here. But when she's summoned or flip face-up, you turn a face-up monster on the field face-down defense. Third Yaksha, I'd like to point out that it's actually a star foil, and it's very pretty. 1 Izanagi, I didn't feel like any more than 1 was necessary. You banish a spirit out of hand to special summon it. As long as it's face up on the field, spirits don't have to return to the hand during the end of the turn, unless you want them to. 2 Dark Hole, 3 MST, 2 Rank Up Magic Quick Chaos. I actually thought about putting this in the deck and just running the rank 5 system, but I realized that this card is only sporadically good, and you can't even use it to summon certain Xyz monsters out of the extra deck that you would normally be able to with a different spell. But regardless, I'm keeping it in the side in the event that I ever want to use it because it still works. It's just not that good. 1 Compulse, 2 Fiendish, Mirror Force, Torrential, and... oh yeah, I already mentioned. No Vanities for this one because I don't have one to put in it. And then finally we get to the extra deck, the thing that I'm assuming a lot of people are here to see. Triple Utopia, we all know what this does. Detach material, negate an attack, big deal. 1 Utopia Ray, surprisingly enough. Can be upgraded from Utopia, gains materials. Detach a material from this card, gains 500 attack, and a monster opponent controls loses 1,000. Now, it doesn't target, which actually makes this a lot better. But you can only use this effect when you have 1,000 points or less, which is easy to do. Especially if you end up using Utopia Prime at some point, which you are also able to upgrade from a Utopia, standard Utopia. And if your opponent's life points are at least 3,000 higher than yours, you can detach 3 materials from this card and pay life points down to 10. Banish... destroy as many special summon monsters your opponent controls as possible, and then banish them all. And then inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each one that was banished. So, you know, it doesn't do a ton of damage, and the payment is honestly really unfair when you get down to it, but it's mainly just a good stat card, and it gets rid of special summon monsters if you need them to be removed. Of course, the main reason I even run S39 is for S39 Utopia the Lightning. You can upgrade it from rank 4 Utopia you control, can't be used as an Xyz material. If it battles, your opponent can't activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step, and once rechained during damage calc in either player's turn, you can double detach to double its attack points to 5,000, but only while you control a Utopia material. And considering how I upgrade this system, I usually end up with 4 materials, 2 of which are Utopia, so that's never a problem. 2 Utopia Beyond, mainly just to upgrade from the Astral Force. When it's summoned, the attack of all monster opponent controls becomes 0. You can detach a material, target a Utopia in the graveyard, banish your and target an Xyz monster you control, banish your target on the field, special summon the one from grave, and then give yourself 1250. It's okay, it's decent recovery. Best part is it can be used during either player's turn, which means it's a quick effect, which means, as far as I'm aware, you can even do it during the battle phase. Not during damage step, of course, but during battle phase. Then we have number 99, Utopic Dragon. That's the main reason I even run Astral Force in this deck, is because this card allows me to utilize that card in multiple different ways. I can drop the spell to summon this. I can return the spell to my hand after the turn I summon this, and I use its effect to recoup a Utopia monster. It detaches a material to protect itself from a targeting effect by a monster, I believe it is. Honestly, I don't even use this effect. It's 4,000 attack points. What do I care? But also, if I had one, I'd be using it to summon a Utopic Zexal, which locks your opponent out of all cards and effects being activated during the turn. And the way it's summoned is you drop an Xyz. You use an Utopia Xyz monster, dropping a normal rank-up spell, and can't negate the summon. When summoned, opponent can't activate cards or effects. They literally can do nothing to stop it. This card's beautiful to summon during first turn. Of course, the recent price hike of this card has made it difficult for me to be able to afford it. So, until I can get one, I'm going to supplement it by replacing it with a copy of Fairy Cheer Girl, which is nowhere near as good, but still useful. Of course, 2 fairies, and you can attach a material to draw a card. You can only use this effect Fairy Cheer Girl once a turn, but if you have a Nikitama attached to this, and you detach it while you control a different spirit, you get 2 draws off of her effect. And that is the deck. Honestly, this build is ultimately temporary because when the new Spirit support comes out, I'm expecting this deck to get a complete overhaul and changing a lot of its mechanics and how it operates. The Xyz build might still be there, but I seriously doubt it because in all honesty, this build's going to be revolving more around the ritual aspect of the new Spirit monsters, the Esprits or the Spirit Lords or whatever they're called, and I honestly am looking forward to them. This deck will always have a very close place in my heart because it was one of the first unique builds that I ever made that legitimately won me tournaments just because it was so unexpected and played so weirdly. So I'm never going to actually forget this deck, even if I dismantle it and bring it back a few times. So ultimately, I love the deck, and I always will. Leave a comment if you think of anything that you can do to improve the deck, but in the meantime, this is Nanashi, signing out.